That's the wrong camera. Oops. Hello. There we go. That's the better camera. I put my phone on backwards. I don't know how I managed that. God, it's like doing the show for so long and still forgetting things. Here, adjusting the camera. Oops. There we go. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Welcome, everybody. John Aravosis here. It is May 28th, Tuesday. Hope you're all doing well. I'm going to have a sip of water. Wait for a second for it to connect because it always takes like half a minute for you guys to hear me, I think. And then I'll get TikTok rolling too. Actually, I'll get TikTok rolling anyway. That's because it always takes them a second to arrive as well. Hang on here. TikTok, mirror. Boom. There we go. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, that's exactly right, Manda. I don't know why I didn't catch it. Yeah. Anyway, welcome, TikTokers. Flight simulation. That's kind of fun, Eve. I know we already had a troll. That's exciting. Oh, Russia doesn't send the good ones. Hey guys, hey TikTokers. How's everybody doing? Welcome all. John S., first gift of the evening. Woo woo. Thanks, John. Hey, Anthony in Ireland. Hey, buddy. Martin, thank you for the gift. Spain. Oh, that's nice. Trash hunters in Spain. Jealous. Will Trump be convicted? I don't know. On which charges? There are 76 of them. Thank you, Jeremy. And who is it? Jamie and Jane for the gifts. Trump is facing closing arguments right now in the Stormy Daniels trial. That's the trial about him paying a porn star $130,000 to basically be quiet about having sex with him right after his birth of his latest son, Barron. What's her name? The wife. I'm already forgetting her name. Melania gives birth to the baby and Trump goes and sleeps with a porn star because that's who he is. Thank you, Jen. And then pays her $130,000 to hush her up before the election. Anyway, that trial's up right now. They're doing the closing arguments today, which will be done this evening, really. I never did get to see the Biden Stern interview. I forgot to check it out. Jaylene, thank you, Pedro. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Jen. Yeah, so somebody asked if he's going to be convicted. I don't know. I mean, all it takes is one juror to say no, and they get a hung jury. So, they could get one jury. 34 the counts are today. That's interesting. Okay. Hey, Russell Kennedy, how are you? So yeah, who knows? I don't know. I mean, I've not been following the case. Thank you, Christopher. I haven't been watching every day because I get a little bored with this stuff. So I don't know how good the evidence is. You know what I mean? Because I just haven't been watching. Thank you, Vicky. But all it takes is one juror. I mean, I kind of feel like he's going to get off because this is who he is, and he's going to pardon himself anyway. Which he's not allowed to do. But arguably, the legal experts say a president probably can't pardon himself, but it's never gone to court. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you, Jetta. Thank you, Vicky. All for the gifts. So who knows what he's going to do? We know what he's going to do. Thank you, Kevin. It depends what the Supreme Court does. Hey, Danny, you are allowed to switch over. Oh, hey, Maddie. So, hey, everybody. So welcome. I am John Aravosis. This is my show. We do this thank you, Maddie, every Monday to Friday, 6 o'clock Eastern time, U.S., talk about the latest news from Ukraine. Basically, the way it works is I go through the news that I've sort of cultivated, curated for the day, stuff that I think matters, tell you why I think it matters. I try to pick news that I think sort of tells a larger story about how the war is going, and then take your guys' questions. And sometimes I take your guys' questions during the show. Sometimes it's in the second half of the show. Who knows? This is a state case. Thanks, Alan. I was wondering about that. Okay, these are state charges. Okay. Yeah, sorry, screwed that one up. Yeah, if the Stormy Daniels case, the one going on today, are state charges, thank you, Maddie, and thank you, Monica, for the dancing flower. I love those. If they're state charges, then a president cannot pardon them. A president can only pardon federal charges. Governors have to pardon state charges, and that's not happening in New York. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Richard, for the gifts. You want to come in, dog? The dog is in a frightful mood again, because it drizzled an hour ago and now she's in, oh my God, it's going to rain mode. I think I have a dog with anxiety. I'm pretty sure we've entered the new level of doggy psychiatry here. I think Trump could get off very easily. He always gets off. I mean, the guy always gets away with it. So we'll see. We'll see. You know, I hope he doesn't. But let's see. So very disturbing. Anyway, welcome everybody. So I am John Aravosis. This is my show, The Aravosis Report. We talk about the latest news from Ukraine. Let's dive in. So as always, guys, please do keep the gifts coming. Speaking of which, thank you, Peace Dolis, for the hearts, and Jeremy also for sharing the live. You guys definitely share it. Click the like button, or on TikTok, you just tap the screen for the hearts. We think those help tell the algorithm that you like the show, and maybe it shares it more. Thank you, Ellie. For you guys on YouTube, obviously hit the like button. Again, this stuff helps. Actually, comments help too. Engaging, giving comments, things like that. I think all of this stuff helps. But in any case, but please do keep the gifts coming as well. I always thank you guys for the gifts because I do this full time, and your guys' gifts pay my bills. So thank you for that. No one, there is no rich donor out there. This is what I do for a living. So let's dive right in. So today was a very interesting news day for Ukraine. Thank you, Swan Person, for the swan, and Vicky for the heart puff. Exactly. Thank you. And thank you, Peace Delise, for the comment, and Trash Hunter for the comment about a comment. Today was a very interesting news day for Ukraine. It's funny, not a huge news day, decent amount of news, but a lot of very interesting news. So listen to this. First of all, you were asking about this, I think yesterday, the day before, or yesterday, or maybe Friday, the Czech artillery update. Very interesting. So Reuters reports that the first shells from the Czech artillery purchase, basically the Czech Republic went and found 1.5 billion, wouldn't that be great? 1.5 million artillery shells around the world to buy for Ukraine. As you know, there has been a shortage of artillery shells. Ukraine has had far fewer shells than Russia has. Russia has far bigger production than the West has for artillery shells. So it's been a problem, right? Russia's firing sometimes as many as 10 times the number of shells that the Ukrainians are able to fire. It's bad. The Czech Republic went around the world, and on its own, I'll give these guys credit. Also kind of annoying, nobody else thought of this. Czech Republic goes and starts looking around the world and finds 1.5 million artillery shells for sale in other countries. They raised money from other European countries. They ended up raising today, it was announced, 1.6 billion euros with a B. That's $1.74 billion. They've raised all the money. Well, I shouldn't say that. We believe they've raised all the money for all the shells, which is amazing. The first shells, the first allotment should land in Ukraine in the next couple days, just in the next few days. I believe they're saying tens of thousands. I don't know if I wrote it. I didn't write it. I did write it down. Tens of thousands. So tens of thousands will hopefully arrive in the next few days. That's a big deal. I would be extremely careful about talking about cryptocurrency on my show because there is a 99.9% chance that you're a troll. So do not do it again, or I'm going to ask the mods to block you, just to let you know. Because nope, I loved crypto, but nobody talks about crypto during shows like this unless they're a scammer. So mods, you now have been informed. Thank you, Alan. That's not just off topic. 99% of those people are trolls that do that. They're scammers. They're not even trolls. They're scammers. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Alan. I will never be talking about that on this show, and I will never be contacting anybody, by the way, because that's the other thing the trolls do, just so people know on TikTok. They will reach out to you privately and send you messages. It's a scam. I will never do that randomly to one of you. It's never going to happen. So I don't mean to be rude. Like, I would never reach out to you, but you know what I mean? Like, you're one of 600,000 followers. I'm not going to reach out privately and go, hey, it's a little, this is the scam they do. So just be aware of it. Thank you, Brandy. Appreciate it over on YouTube. So anyway, yes. So the shells are arriving. That's good news. Obviously, thank you, Courtney. The question is, how long does it take for all the shells to arrive? How long does it take for a significant number of the shells to arrive? Right. So we'll keep an eye on that. That's okay, Ash. I was just telling folks that we had somebody that decided to weigh in on cryptocurrency, and I was saying 99.9% of the time that's a scammer. So I told the person not to do it again, so I'm leaving them for this time. But if anybody mentions it, mute them at the very least, and they possibly deserve a block too, because there's probably a 0% chance that anybody bringing it up isn't a scammer. So, all right. Netherlands said today that it would deliver parts of a Patriot air defense system to Ukraine and is talking to other countries in order to assemble a complete system. So that makes sense. So the story earlier was they were delivering parts, and I was like, parts of a Patriot missile system? That's kind of crazy, right? I mean, that's just weird. Parts of a missile system. For whatever reason, they've got backup parts or spare parts. Thank you, Hannah. And they're trying to reach other countries now to see, well, the backup parts are useful anyway, right? Thank you again, Hannah, for the gift. Backup parts are still useful, right, for the system, but spare parts. But it would be great if they could create an entirely new system with having enough of the parts, because then they can protect more cities, right? So in any case, that's good news. Some interesting news from France today. A couple different stories from France. This weekend, we heard a couple different things from France, actually. We heard President Macron recently say that Ukraine had the right to strike Russian military targets inside Russia using French weapons. Macron clarified that today. He had a summit with German Chancellor Scholz, the head of Germany, and Macron clarified it, but his clarification isn't bad. Thank you, Eva. It's not bad, but it's a bit of a walk back, but it's not bad. What he said today, let me read this to you. We think we should allow them, Ukraine, to neutralize military sites from which missiles are fired, military sites from which Ukraine is attacked, but we shouldn't allow them to hit other targets in Russia and civilian or other military sites in Russia. So the point with that is that what Macron is saying, the French president, is that we should give Ukraine the ability or the right to use our weapons to strike Russian soil if they are striking a Russian target in Russia that is firing on Ukraine. In other words, they would say, you can't use NATO weapons to fire on a Russian military barracks if the barracks is just a barracks. You can't necessarily hit fuel lines. Now, that's a problem. That's a problem. Now, first of all, they're talking about using NATO weapons. They're talking about using NATO weapons here. They're not saying, Ukraine attacking anything with their own weapons. But it still, to me, is a bit of an over limitation, because you want Ukraine, for example, thank you, Blue Ariel, appreciate the gift. The Russians are attacking in Kharkiv, okay? Northeastern Ukraine. They're bombing the hell out of the city. They're trying to take the border areas. The Russians have a big supply line on the other side of the border. Well, the Ukrainians need to do a couple things. They need to hit the Russian missile launchers, hit the Russian artillery that's firing across the border. Yeah. But they also need to be able to hit the supply lines, right? They need to hit the fuel coming in for the Russian machinery. I would argue they also need to be able to hit the Russian barracks, the military barracks, right? I mean, it's still kind of BS that what NATO's doing. I mean, it's good. Now, what worries me a little, it sounds like Macron backed off. It sounds like Germany probably got him to back off. Now, Scholz in Germany, according to Reuters, thank you, adventurers. According to Reuters, Scholz in Germany agreed with Macron. So that's interesting, actually, that Reuters is at least claiming that Scholz came out, the Chancellor of Germany, head of Germany, came out and said that he agrees that Ukraine should be able to hit military targets that are currently attacking Ukraine from Russia. That is a move from Germany. That's good. But it does limit France a little. So I think France may have stepped back a little in order to get Germany on board, is my guess. The other thing that annoys me here, if Reuters about the story about Germany today, saying the Germans are now okay with Ukraine using German weapons to hit at least Russian targets in Russia that are firing on Ukraine, that would put Germany in a more aggressive stance than the US yet again. In other words, Biden is being a bigger chicken, a bigger wimp in dealing with Russia than the Germans. And Chancellor Scholz, he got some issues he's from the beginning of the war. Biden was a big chicken. He was a big chicken. The French were big chickens. French seems to have come along, although the French haven't. Again, it's complicated. The French have gotten bolder, but the French have not provided anywhere near the weapons the Germans have. The Germans have provided the second largest number of weapons. So the Germans have provided a ton of weapons, but like the Americans, they've been scared to death of it and putting all sorts of restrictions and this kind of crap, right? And also not giving all the weapons that should be given. But it's still interesting to me that the German chancellor is now more out there than President Biden is, right? On letting Ukraine attack Russian targets. That's BS. That's just absolutely BS. Typical, but very annoying. All right, more here. One second here. The Dutch Defense Ministry came out today and agreed. It is obvious that Ukrainians should strike inside Russia as well. This should not be a subject of discussion. The Czech government also came out today and said the same thing. Thank you, Vicky Neal, for the very cool couch potato gift. The Czech government came out today and said the same thing, that they're on board with Ukraine using weapons from them to attack Russia. So we are seeing this issue kind of move forward, Again, classic freaking NATO. They're moving forward, but they're not moving forward as far as they need to. So what are they going to do? They're going to cut the baby in half. As I've said, from the beginning, NATO has cut the baby in half. We've given Ukraine stuff, but tied their hand behind their back. We refused to give them weapons. Then we gave them some weapons, not enough weapons. Then we delayed how long it took them to get the weapons. We just, every step of the way was, and now we're like, okay, some of us will let you attack in Russia, others won't, but we don't really want you attacking everything within Russia, just some things. And it's like really freaking annoying. Anyway, Poland asked in an interview whether Poland was ready to send troops to Ukraine. The Polish foreign minister said, we shouldn't rule it out. We should leave Putin guessing as to our intentions. That may sound familiar to you because I've been saying that for a while, that basically part of the strategy here is just to confuse the hell out of Putin so he doesn't know what's going on. Thank you, Mustard. Thank you, Bradley, for the gifts. The idea is that if Putin is worried about NATO troops possibly being sent to Ukraine, then he has to plan and he has to assume it's, thank you, Mustard. He has to assume it's happening, right? And if Putin assumes that NATO may eventually send troops, that screws up his plans because he's got to say, shit, if I go after Kyiv, the capital, or Odessa in the south, even Kharkiv, thank you, Lori, if NATO troops are involved, we're going to get beaten, right? So all of a sudden, Putin may restrain himself to a degree if he's worried about what NATO is going to do, which is why NATO shouldn't be telegraphing to him what they're going to do, and that's why the Polish foreign minister agrees with me on this. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Shebug. Thank you, Suzanne Murtada. Little more here. This was interesting. So the French also may have backed off a little bit on another thing that was said this weekend. The Ukrainian defense minister came out this weekend, and I should have given you a caveat yesterday because I thought it and I didn't say it. Yesterday, we heard that the Ukrainian defense minister issued a statement on Telegram, a social media platform, saying that he just reached an agreement with the French for the French to send military trainers to Ukraine. When I heard the story, at first I didn't totally believe it. I told people I want to see other sources. I finally found, a good source that also gave the sourcing and said, yeah, it was on Telegram. Okay, if it's on Telegram, then we know if it was then we know it was the Ukrainian defense minister. I still was not thrilled that it was the Ukrainian defense minister and not the French sending it, because you'd think the French would be the ones announcing if French troops were going to Ukraine, right? It's just a little weird. Well, today, the Ukrainian defense minister had to issue a caveat, a correction, and it looks like either he got ahead of things or the French pulled back a little. I'm not sure what's going on with this. Listen to this. His clarification said, as of now, we are still in discussions with France and other countries on the issue. France's defense ministry issued a statement to Reuters saying, as already mentioned several times, training on Ukrainian soil is one of the projects discussed since the conference on support for Ukraine convened by the President of the Republic on February 26th. Like all the projects discussed at that time, this track continues to be the subject of work with the Ukrainians, blah, 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 blah. So for whatever reason, the French wanted to make it clear that they do not want to publicly acknowledge yet that they are sending troops to do trainings in Ukraine. So who the hell knows what's going on? I'm not thrilled that they backed off. I'm not thrilled that the Ukrainians went public, because if the Ukrainians went public like this and the French are backing off and the Ukrainians had to issue a correction, it sounds to me like somebody in Ukraine got ahead of this and they should be mature enough not to do that. You know what I mean? They're a big boy government. Their defense minister shouldn't be issuing statements that he hasn't cleared with the French about what the French are doing. You literally don't do that unless you get permission from the French. So maybe the French are the ones that backed off. I'm not sure. Ginger, thank you for becoming a Patriot launcher supporter over on YouTube. I appreciate that. Thank you, Succeed, for the gift. More news. Let me have a sip of water first. 1 second. They got excited, but Deb, there's no excuse. Like, you got excited is not a reason to blow the whistle on some secret deal you've got with one of your biggest benefactors. You know what I mean? All right, guys. Let's keep going. More interesting news. Oh, and do keep the gifts coming. Remember, I do this for a living. Appreciate the help. But I need your guys' help to pay the bills. So if you like my reports, you like my show, you like me reporting on Ukraine and the other news, thank you, Timothy. Please do keep the gifts coming on TikTok and YouTube. And memberships are great too. Buying the sort of monthly memberships that you can do on YouTube and TikTok, and you can buy them for other people. You can buy gift memberships that somebody else gets for a month. TikTok and YouTube will give it out sort of randomly. Immediately they give it out, which is nice. And thank you, Xstitch. Either Xstitch subscribed or somebody did a gift. I'm not sure which, because I never see the gifts on TikTok. Not never, but it's too quick on top of the stream. So thank you. If it was a gift, let me know so I can thank that person. But thank you guys for that. This is an annoying story. Thank you, PC Noel, for the rose, by the way. This isn't a Joe gifted. Okay, thank you. That was my concern. Yeah, thank you for that, Courtney. And thank you, Charles, for the gift. You did, Joe Colella. Okay, thanks, Joe. Yeah, I think I told you guys I did tell you the other day, TikTok, and it's really stupid. TikTok, when people give the gift memberships, it shows it really quickly at the top of the screen and then it disappears. Thank you, Fred, for that. And it doesn't, you see how Fred gave a gift, it showed at the top of the screen, but now at the bottom of the screen, you still see Fred Tone sent a corgi, right? When you do the gift memberships, it shows it quickly at the top of the screen who gave it, and then they're gone. That was Blue Ariel. I was just going to ask who just gave a bunch right now. See, it shows you who got them, but it's not sticky with who gave them. So thank you for telling me that. So Ashanti, Sojo, Michael, JB, and users 3716, all of you just got a gift membership courtesy of Blue Ariel for the next month. That means you get fun little emojis. That means you can join our Saturday show as well, which is our hangout we do on Saturdays. Usually Vlad in Ukraine joins us. He couldn't this weekend, but he often does. But it's just kind of people like it. It's a nice weekend show thing. Scotty, maybe Ash or some of the other mods can explain to you how to do a membership, just so you know, if you want to consider it, and so other folks know. If you guys get a chance, maybe just kind of explain to people how to do it. So yes, I decided to wear my controversial Blackhawks shirt today. I didn't care. It's red and I like it. I tend not to wear it in DC because it's a very liberal city, but I like it. So I wore it anyway because it's a pretty red shirt. And the Blackhawks haven't changed their motto, so, you know. Also, I will say this. Also, I am actually not of the mind. I don't agree with people that logos are offensive when they're not actually offensive. What I mean is, if you're mocking people, the logo is offensive. If you're the Spartans, which my junior high was, that's not offensive. I'm Greek. It's not offensive at all that they're called the Spartans. I don't think the Blackhawks are offensive because they're called the Blackhawks. They're named after, local Indian tribe or Native American tribe, right? So I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Any case. So, well, it's controversial to tons of people. I mean, again, I don't want to get into the whole issue here, but there is a school of thought that anything named after Native Americans is offensive. I think that's idiotic. Native Americans disagree. It's your right to disagree, but having worked in civil rights issues for 30 plus years, just because somebody says it's offensive doesn't mean it is, right? I mean, I've done that on gay rights issues too. Like, I've used the advantage I had of arguing on gay rights issues of telling straight people you can't argue with me, which is true, but doesn't mean I'm right. By the way, Annie, thank you for the gift memberships. Excellent. And Soren, Richard, Mama, Maria, and Nadia all got them. Excellent. So anyways, but I will say this. I think the Washington, D.C. football team, a quick tangent here. The Washington, D.C. football team was named the Redskins. Now, I think that's kind of offensive. I mean, they finally were forced to change the name. But Redskin sounds like that's not a normal name. You know what I mean? That's not like a normal name for a Native American tribe or something. That I thought was offensive. But my school, University of Illinois, that I went to had to change their mascot because their mascot was a sort of traditional, it was beautiful outfit with this beautiful sort of traditional Indian, Native American war headdress that was absolutely gorgeous, and a traditional dance that was a composite of a number of Native American dances that were absolutely beautiful. And yeah, I disagree. It's not offensive, not at all. But it depends. It depends. Cleveland Indians depends. I guess depends what the mascot looks like. Depends how they do it. But honestly, we refer to everybody. I think sometimes. Let me put it this way. If you want to name stuff after my ethnic group, you go for it. If you want to do it in a way that's respectful, please do it, because I want our name out there, right? I think it's a huge mistake for Native Americans to get offended about sports teams named after them that are actually done respectfully. The tomahawk chop, not respectful. That's Atlanta, right? I don't think that's respectful at all. That I think is a problem. But if they're being respectful, you want your name out there. You want them commemorating your tribes. I think it's idiotic, frankly. But again, people get overly sensitive, and we, maybe in a good way, we overreact in favor of the activists, and maybe that's a good thing. I think things have gone a little too far in a lot of issues lately, domestically in the U.S., because we've sort of bent over backwards for people. But maybe that's better than not caring at all, right? So, any case, Dan, thank you for the gift. All right, let's keep going here. The Akron Tatsikis, exactly. Well, my school in junior high was the Spartans. I loved that my team. I was so honored when I was in junior high that the sports mascot were called the Spartans. Named after Greeks. I mean, Greeks. Loosely Greeks back then, right? They were all kind of different groups, but they were all Greeks. That was so freaking cool to me as a junior high school kid. I loved it, the visibility of it. So, I think people make a mistake of that. I had Spartan pride. Yeah, but I mean, it was my family isn't Spartan originally, but we're Greek. I liked it. All right. So this is an annoying story, though. I was going to tell you guys a story that kind of pissed me off here. Sweden, this is according to Reuters, Sweden is now pausing plans to provide Gripen fighter jets to the Ukrainians. Now, there were never plans to give the jets. We never heard of any final deal, right? The Swedes kept saying they were working on it, talking to the Ukrainians about it. Well, the Swedes now say, in consultation with other countries in the coalition, they've decided to wait. By the way, those other countries would be the United States of America and Joe Biden. There is no other country the Swedes are referring to. Biden killed the deal. I am just telling you this from my experience in politics. Biden killed the freaking deal for the Swedes to give fighter jets to the Ukrainians. Now, the Swedes said, we've been urged by the other countries in the coalition to wait. Now, why the hell would the other countries in the coalition want you to wait in providing fighter jets to the Ukrainians? Like, what possible reason could there be, right? Here was the quote from the Swedish defense minister. This has to do with the fact that the focus is now on introducing the F-16 system. Yeah, so what? I mean, what does that mean, right? Why can Ukraine get F-16s, but we can't give them Gripen fighter jets at the same time? Why? I mean, are the Ukrainians not smart enough to handle multiple weapon systems at once? They've done it repeatedly. So what's the problem, right? And I would also say that the very fact that the Swedes aren't saying first of all, the Swedes are the ones who know. It's their weapon system. It's their fighter jet. The Swedes know whether or not the Ukrainians can handle flying their planes. For the Swedes to say, the other NATO members told us, right? The other NATO members told us that we should hold off because it might confuse the Ukrainians, means the Swedes are admitting they don't think it's going to confuse the Ukrainians at all. Honestly, this is President Biden. I swear to you, this is Biden freaking out. It's possible it's the Germans or somebody else. I mean, it's always possible it's the Germans. The Hungarians suck, of course. But I don't think they would say no because of the Hungarians, right? But we know the Hungarian government, of course, would try to kill it because they're pro-Putin. But it's always the Germans and the Americans killing this kind of stuff. And I would say even more, it's probably more the Americans than the Germans. This is Biden. And it's Jake Sullivan. It's Jake Sullivan who's Biden's national security advisor. But guys, bottom line, Joe Biden isn't some young kid. He's not some child. And even I was saying it was Biden's advisors. It was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, that our top military general. It was his national security advisor. You know what? It's Joe freaking Biden, guys. He gets the advice from his people, and then he gets to say what he wants to do. It's just pisses me off. It absolutely pisses me off. Hold on. Yeah. John Judge says a pilot can train on many platforms. It's ridiculous. No, I don't get it. I just don't get it. I mean, there is, again, the Russians have, and by the way, the Russians probably told him something privately. The Russians probably threatened him privately. And Biden went, you know, Swedes are waiting to see the F-16s fail and show their jets will be better. That I don't want to say it'd be funny because we don't want the F-16s to fail, but you know what I mean? I wouldn't mind the Swedes showing us up at this point. It's so freaking annoying. No, you do. The question is whether they can do it, Jeff. I mean, the Swedes seem to think it isn't a problem. I don't know. Maybe the Ukrainians don't have enough engineers, but also if the Ukrainians didn't have enough engineers, here's the thing. If the argument were legit that Ukraine couldn't do both at the same time, F-16s and Gripens, at least to start with, that they don't have enough training, they don't have enough people trained on the Gripens, they literally would say that. The Swedes would say, you know, we're going to hold off for a bit. Thank you, Paul, for the hearts. We're going to hold off for a bit until Ukraine gets the F-16s because they're going to need twice the number of engineers. They're going to need twice the number of pilots. And, you know, we're going to implement that later after the F-16s arrive, something like that. Sweden didn't say, we Sweden think that this is going to be too onerous for Ukraine to do two at once. Sweden said, the other members, we have been urged by the other countries to wait. This has to do with the fact that the focus is now on introducing the F-16s. They were urged by the others to wait. They didn't say, we think we should wait. That's the problem. You are seeing diplomatic speak here. And this diplomatic speak said, we want to do it. The other guys are telling us no. If the Ukrainians couldn't do it, the Swedes would be on board and say, yeah, the Ukrainians can't do this yet. We got to wait. The Swedes think the Ukrainians can do it. And they're being told no. That pisses me off. Because basically up until now, we've seen, you know, that when NATO kind of pulls punches and gets worried about what Ukraine can do, Ukraine seems to do much better, you know, than people think. Another interesting story. So this one's interesting too. Sip of water. Ukraine, President Zelenskyy of Ukraine publicly sort of called out President Biden today, urging him to attend the peace summit that's going to be taking place in Switzerland in a few weeks. Actually, in July, I think, actually, not in a few weeks, in 6 weeks. In July, Switzerland's hosting a peace summit. And Zelenskyy wants Biden to come. Biden has some campaign fundraiser that he's doing. Biden could always reschedule a campaign fundraiser. Now, it is true that July gets you very close to the U.S. presidential election, which is early November. So July, August, September, October, it's 3.5 months before the U.S. presidential election. Biden taking 5 days or 3 days or even 4 days is a lot, right? When he's worried about his reelection. Having said that, I feel like part of the problem is, as I've said, and this is where, by the way, my criticisms of Biden, they compound. You know, Biden's mistakes are not happening in a vacuum. Biden has not talked publicly about Ukraine much at all. He doesn't. He doesn't at all. The fact that he doesn't means it's out of the public mind. Americans don't think about Ukraine anymore. I do, right? We do. But generally speaking, Ukraine, it's discussed in the news, but it's never discussed publicly. Our politicians, nobody discusses it. Biden is afraid, I guarantee you, he's afraid in part that, and he's correct on this, that if he leaves the country for 3 to 5 days to go to this peace summit, it's kind of wasting time that he should be running for election. True. He's also afraid that the American people will think he's leaving the country right before the election and focusing on things in other countries and not America. I guarantee you that's part of the reason he's not going to go to the peace summit. Well, the reason Americans think you're not focusing on America when you focus on Ukraine is because you, Joe Biden, have ceded the entire argument to the Republicans. You don't talk about Ukraine. You've never defended Ukraine. He defended it during the State of the Union, 3 months ago. Thank you. That was very nice 3 months ago. He does it like once a month, once every 2 months, and thinks that's enough. And it's not enough. So yeah, he's in a situation now where it does cause problems for him if he goes abroad and tries to help Ukraine, right? By going to the international peace thing, because he hasn't been talking about why Ukraine matters. So the American public don't understand, and they wouldn't understand why he went. It's his fault that it looks bad if he goes to the peace summit. It's not Ukraine's fault. It's not just the election's fault. I don't know. Silver Fox, maybe. I don't think it's his handlers. I think it's his choice. I think it's his choice. More here. Finally, a final story, Georgia's parliament. So the country of Georgia, right? Former Soviet, one of the former 14 hostages of the Russians as part of the Soviet Union. The parliament overruled the president's veto of the foreign agents law. Okay, very complicated. Bottom line, Georgia is about to pass into law, the state of the country of Georgia, that will make it much more difficult for new free and independent newspapers to do their job, for pro-democracy groups to do their jobs, for them to get money from abroad, and to operate if they do get money from abroad. They need money from abroad. Georgia's not a rich country. It's not a big country. If you're trying to run a newspaper or, you know, a women's rights group or a pro-democracy group, right? Thank you, Jen Thomas, for the hearts. It's easier to do it in America because we've got more people and we've got more money. You can raise more money here. You can't raise that much money in Georgia for these kind of groups. They've got to seek funding from abroad. Well, the Georgian parliament, which has been very suck-up-y to the Russians of late, decided to pass a law that is basically Vladimir Putin's law that Putin created in Russia. And they decided to copy it. And it's a law that Putin passed literally to crush pro-democracy groups in Russia. And what did the Georgian parliament, and it's the party, the Dream Party, that's the Putin suck-up party, do? They passed the same law that Putin passed because they're trying to basically oppress pro-democracy groups in Georgia. It's very bad. The Georgian people want Georgia to become part of the European Union. They'd like to become part of NATO. And it's not going to happen. I mean, it's just not going to freaking happen. This is a step backwards, and they're going to be punished for it. They're going to be really punished for it. So anyway. All right. Auctions. The auctions end tomorrow. I do auctions every week over at Discord. You can find the Discord community on YouTube. Actually, YouTube and TikTok both. Go to aravosis.com, which is my last name. You can find, actually, on YouTube, you can find that link in my bio. Not my bio. On YouTube, if you look at the description of the video today, you'll see a link to Linktree, which is my link of links. So it's a list of all the links, including Discord. You guys can find it by going to my profile on TikTok. Look at my profile, look for Linktree, click it. And again, it's my link of links of Discord, PayPal, Venmo, etc., LinkedIn. Go to Discord. The auctions are at Discord. Basically, I auction off a lot of cool stuff from Ukraine, mostly stuff from Ukraine. 50% of every auction we do goes back to Ukraine. I send the money back. 50% of the money goes to support my work. But honestly, I just kind of enjoy it. It's kind of fun. It's a fun thing we do over in the Discord community. Discord's free, by the way. I just wanted to show you guys, we've got the auctions end tomorrow. So please do go check it out. Among other things, a packet of 5 different Ukrainian candy bars. These are 5 of Vlad's favorites that he picked up for us. Oops, show you this way. One of them, of course, one of them, honestly, is Swedish, but it's Swedish via Ukraine, Milka. But it's good. A really cool hot plate. I call it a hot plate. I forget. Ash always tells me the name Trivet, I guess. This side's a little girly, not my taste, made from juniper, but it has 2 sides. This side is very much my taste. It's really, really pretty. Smells like juniper. And Vlad said it's a very traditional Ukrainian folklore making these things. And Vlad said once you put the hot, basically like you put a hot serving plate on a table, right? Once you put the hot plate on it, the heat makes it smell of the wood, which is really cool. We've got some cool handmade Ukrainian socks, wool socks. I think they're about an American size 7. I think that would be the safe size to assume they are. But they're handmade in Ukraine. They're very cool with the Ukrainian trident on them. A couple other things. Got, actually, I think it's my last Ukrainian military patch of the Ukrainian flag. This one's really nice. And it is Velcro because it goes on their uniforms here. It's the most popular Ukrainian military patch. You will see people wear these. I mean, it's the #1 patch that the Ukrainian military folks wear. So this is up for auction. Cool bracelet. I like the little bracelets with the Ukrainian trident in it. This one's kind of a cool one, I think. I like this. Oops. Trying to get you guys. It's not totally in focus, but there, now it's in focus. You get the idea. I actually have a cool little mask that I picked up in Bali, but I thought it was very pretty. They're very big on their masks there. It's all sort of the traditional art forms, but that was kind of pretty. I got it in Bali. Ukrainian, this one's actually been quite popular. This is my last Ukrainian police badge. It's a traffic cop badge from Ukraine circa early 1990s, and it's from Kherson. If you look, you can see Khn. It looks like it's XH in English, but it's actually Khn for Kherson on the bottom, the cop's badge number. So it's, oops, come on. Oop, there we go. So it's like XH, it's, Khn 0269. One or two other things here. Oh, the t-shirt. Actually, people have not been bidding on the t-shirt. I think the t-shirt's pretty cool. The t-shirt is pretty cool. I've got the sizes listed. Maybe it's large and extra large. I don't recall. It's in the auction, but it shows Ukrainian woman, Ukrainian colors, and on the bottom it says independent, which I thought was kind of cool. Sort of patriotic, feminist kind of t-shirt. It's black, which I kind of tend to like. Oh, actually, this one's medium. I think I've got medium and large. You can see what the sizes are in the description. This one's medium, but I think it's kind of cool. I'm going to show you more of these. I've got some Ukrainian stamps because you guys, did you bid on the shirt? Oh, thank you, Dawn. We've got some Ukrainian stamps. These are the Russian warship Go F Yourself stamps from the Ukrainians made, where it shows a Ukrainian soldier flipping the finger to the Russian ship, the Moskva, which they sank. Also, what's neat about this, that's also the ship that told the Ukrainians to surrender, and the Ukrainian troops responded and said, Russian warship, go F yourself. So the stamps are particularly kind of fun. And finally, since the auctions are tomorrow, I'm going to show you everything. Finally, we have what I call Ukrainian voodoo doll, but they're not voodoo dolls. Thank you, Annie, by the way. I'll look at that in a second. These are motanka. It's a Ukrainian, very old thing in Ukraine. It's gotten popular again in recent years. And it's, God, I don't even know I don't know what you would call this. It is this sort of old superstitious belief that they make these dolls by hand. And this is actually a kit to make the doll. That's how the doll looks. They typically do not have faces. They have like a cross on the face. Actually, you guys can see this on both of these. It's almost like a cross on the face. Oh, yours arrived. Oh, good, Zerpachi. Yeah, I sent everything out. Pretty much everything arrived this weekend, I think, for all the auction stuff. So everything's caught up with the auctions. Yay. Vlad said that his wife made one of these and put it in the crib of his daughter when his daughter was born. It is what's the word I'm looking for? Not a wise tale. What's the word I'm looking for? It's a little bit of a superstitious belief that, your house over the many years, Chris says it's ancestors' spirit protection. The thing I don't understand is if it's bringing the ancestors' spirits to protect you, I think is the idea. It's clearly kind of pagan. It's pagan and it's a totem. Clearly, exactly. Talisman, that's a good, Joe called it a talisman, not a dream catcher, no. But it's meant to protect you. It deals with the ancestors, and I think protectress, Vereginia. Oh, Vereginia is the name on the bottom. That's protectress. Ah, okay. Yeah, it says Vereginia on the bottom, which means protectress. The thing I don't quite understand is, actually maybe Marie can tell us, or some of the other Ukrainians, is the idea that somehow it's working with the ancestors to protect you. Like somehow this helps connect you to your ancestors so that their spirits can protect you, I think is the idea. I think it is a totem, basically. Yeah. But I think that's the idea. Anyway, it's kind of cool. Like I said, Vlad said literally they had one made and put in their daughter's crib when their daughter was born. So it's funny. It's like a modern superstition that Ukrainians do. Anyway, I thought it was kind of cool. They've got those are the other ones, but this one's the blue one. But that's there too. So all of these are over at Discord, in our Discord community. You can find it via aravosis.com. You guys can find it via the Linktree link in the description of the video today on YouTube. On TikTok, you guys can go to my profile, look for the Linktree link there in my profile on TikTok, click it. And one of the first things that comes up will be Discord. Go over there and you can check it out. Your Polish grandmother had one. Oh, that's funny. So it clearly is sort of a Slavic Eastern European thing. Yeah. Yep. I'm glad to hear that, Ginger. Everything, according to, because I send stuff out with tracking, according to my tracking, everything arrived by today, which is good. I have been here, Little Hawk. I'm guessing if you don't know where I've been, then I think TikTok's probably hiding me from you because I've been around. I've been around. So anyway. All right, guys, let's hang out. Thank you, Chazak. Let's hang and talk. Not just Slavic, really. Who else does it? I am a big fan of your country, of Ukraine, very much so. Oh, sorry. I did have a question. Thank you, Brendy. I saw the question and then forgot, of course, because I was talking. Annie, story from yesterday shows French troops going to Ukraine. Is it only for training? Thought other countries were already doing this. We know some countries seem to have troops in Ukraine. Okay. I believe at one point the French let it slip. I think it was the French. So it sort of, the cat came out of the bag that there are some NATO countries that have troops there. What they're doing, God only knows. Are they training? Are they doing more? God only knows. France is not necessarily sending troops. You may have come a little late, Annie. I was saying that the Ukrainian government had to put out a clarification and say, well, we're still discussing it with the French. And the French came out and said, we're still discussing it. So who knows? Yeah, Julian Patel says military advisors are on the ground. Exactly. There are clearly some troops there doing military trainers. The French thing is weird. Thank you, Sharon, for the paper crane. All I can think is, I mean, it's possible the French are doing like a double, triple, denial thing where either they're trying to play with the Russians and therefore they wanted the Ukrainians to kind of pull back and deny it a little bit today because they're screwing with the Russians. I would have thought the French probably already had people there training Ukrainians, but the whole thing is kind of confusing. But the French did back off today and they got the Ukrainians to back off a little today. So now we don't know what's going on. But maybe it is a myth. Championess says it was a myth. So I don't know. I don't know. I certainly, look, the French did spill the beans, apparently, that some NATO troops were doing training and we're training soldiers in Ukraine. Because remember, they sort of spilled it and everybody got pissed at them maybe 3 months ago or something. So, so who knows? Don't know, Annie. I mean, that's not that I don't know. That was the latest update today that it got kind of murkier. It is a little weird, Rookinator. I mean, Macron certainly is talking a better talk, but they're not sending the weapons. The Germans keep being not the best, but they've sent the most weapons from Europe, which is good. Oh, that's interesting, Julian. The German language reports of the meeting. That's interesting. We did not see that. Yeah. I mean, I've seen it in English. What Schultz said was good, but not as out there as Macron about Ukraine hitting targets in Russia. Mysterioso says Latvian military person's going to Ukraine on vacation? Maybe. What else we got here? Yeah, it's possible, Annie, that at least at first blush, it seems like the Ukrainians got ahead of themselves or got ahead of the French by saying publicly that the French were going to send trainers. Who knows what actually happened, but clearly the French jumped in and made the Ukrainians back off from their earlier statement. So, anyway, what else we got, guys? See, well, it was a decent amount. It was good news today. I mean, it wasn't a ton of news, but like I said, it was pretty good news today. Kerch Bridge. So Moto's asking why the Kerch Bridge is still whole. Kerch Bridge, important bridge in southern Ukraine. Bottom line, Ukrainians will destroy the bridge when it's worth destroying the bridge. You've got to keep in mind, the Russians will probably rebuild the bridge at some point, or they'll try to rebuild the bridge. So you want to take the bridge out when the Russians need it the most. Probably when the Russians need it the most is when the Ukrainians are trying to take Crimea. Ukrainians aren't trying to take Crimea yet. They're trying to winnow down. They're trying to sort of shape the battle for Crimea, but they're not actually attacking Crimea like the big battle yet. Here's Crimea. The bridge goes across here. I do have to tighten this thing. The bridge goes across here, and then Russia's over. Russia's also up here, but Russia's over here. So Kerch Bridge is right here. The Russians use it to supply their troops here, their troops here. The Russians are also using railway and roadways to supply their troops here from Russia over here too. Ukraine is going to wait, I think, until they're doing the big battle in Crimea, the big attack for Crimea, and that's when they're going to take out the bridge. Second reason for it is, okay, they don't want to damage the bridge and have the Russians fix it too soon. If they do it now, the Russians fix it before the big attack comes. Second issue, Ukraine only has so many weapons. If they use 12 cruise missiles or 12 Storm Shadow missiles to take down the bridge, those are 12 missiles they could have used somewhere else, right? So they've got to do a cost benefit or opportunity cost analysis of what makes the most sense right now to help our battle. And my guess is they're saying the Kerch Bridge, yeah, we want to destroy it, but it's not having as much of an impact today as some other targets we could hit. So a flower lady, that's great. I wasn't sure if people were using Boris. I'm glad to see the Boris emoji be used. I was wondering about that. Rookinator, I'm not sure what you're referring to, bombing near embassies. Oh, you mean in Ukraine? We've heard nothing about that. No. I'm guessing not. The Russians may have gotten smart. Or also Patriot missile batteries, right? The first year, we didn't give Ukraine Patriot missile batteries to shoot down incoming missiles. Now they've got them. So it's also possible that first year we heard more about, weapons, missiles coming down near foreign embassies because the Ukrainians couldn't defend the capital as well without the Patriots. So, Colton, if you mean for the Russians, I'm sure we'd love to, and we will. So I'm not too worried about Russian troops. We're 3 years into this. We're in the third year of this war that the Russians were supposed to win in 10 days. So it's kind of pathetic. Exactly. Well, we're going to give Colton one more chance because I think Colton's a troll. There's a troll. Colton clearly isn't a native English speaker. So we're going to give Colton one more chance to prove that he's a troll. I'm sure he's a troll, but we'll give him a chance. I always like to give people one more chance to prove they're not, because sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's just misunderstanding. Exactly, Ash. I figured you would. Jens gifted a gift membership that Thorben got. Thorn. That's interesting. I know Thorn. All right. Congratulations, Thorn, and thank you, Jens. How will the war end up? God only knows, Vladimir. I mean, no, I say that because this war could go on for 10 years, 20 years. Thank you, Alan. It could end up being a war of attrition where the boundaries don't change much and they keep fighting and blowing each other up forever. And again, why? Because NATO doesn't want Ukraine to win. NATO's afraid, at least the Americans and the Germans are afraid of the Ukrainians taking back Crimea, and Putin will get angry. So the way we're acting, this war is never going to end. So no, I mean, that's my problem. My problem is I think this is going to go on for years at the way we're going, because increasingly you see NATO, Biden, for example, understanding that we can't afford to lose this war, but he's taken a really long time to get there. And by the time he finally gets there and realizes Ukraine has to win this, not just tie, it's going to be too late. And the Russians will have dug in so much that it's going to be next to impossible to kick the Russians out. And that's my concern, is that it gets to the point where the borders are fixed between the Russian occupation and the rest of Ukraine, and the Ukrainians just keep attacking and the Russians keep attacking back, and we keep giving weapons because we don't want Ukraine to lose, but we never help Ukraine actually win. So that's what I mean. I do think it's a quagmire. We got ourselves into a quagmire because Biden was a wimp. I mean, again, he's better than Trump. It's a disaster if Trump gets elected. But Biden was a freaking wimp in how he handled Ukraine. It was idiotic. He got us into a quagmire when we can't afford to lose this war. Trump just wants us to lose it and give it to Putin altogether, which is insane. That's a recipe for World War III. But what Biden's doing ain't very smart. It's sort of a slow World War III. We make it so the Russians win in 10 years instead of Trump doing it in 2 days. I mean, oh, as if we care. As if we care. Good luck doing that. All right. Yep. Anyway. Oh, la, 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 la. I don't know. Why did the Palestinians bomb a hospital? I mean, Fazil, you really don't want to get into this discussion. Remember when the war started and the Palestinian terrorists bombed a hospital and then everybody blamed it on Israel. And by the way, that's what set off worldwide protests. It's what set up the Arab world protests. It was the beginning of all the protests against Israel, was all because the Palestinians bombed their own hospital and blamed the Israelis, and all the media jumped on it and believed it until they all investigated and went, oh shit, this was Palestinian terrorists bombing Palestinians. Oops. So, why did Israel bomb a hospital? Why did the Palestinians bomb a hospital? It's war and people fuck up, basically. Yeah, the parking lot, exactly. That they blamed that parking lot that got blown up, and the Palestinians claimed the Israelis bombed a hospital, and they didn't. It's actually not been proven at all, Driver. Literally every analysis save one concluded early on that the Palestinians did it. It was Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and it was, who was the other one? Was it I don't remember if it was Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad. I think those were the two who did it. So yeah, not even. Yeah. Google it. I am the truth teller here. I'm not going to spread bullshit for folks, as we've talked about, to make you guys feel good. No. It was not proven Israel bombed it. It was literally proven it was Islamic Jihad, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and Hamas. Google it. It was a failed rocket that came from the Palestinians themselves. And you morons all decided to jump up and protest Israel, and it wasn't Israel. I'm sorry, but that kind of stuff pisses me off. I have to deal with misinformation every day of my life in politics in this town, and it drives me crazy when people are so freaking stupid that A, they jump to conclusions before getting the facts, and B, once the facts are out there, no, it's not true. You sound like Trumpers, it's like, no, we don't. I will not deal with people who just lie about shit and don't care to get the truth. Thank you, Flower Lady. And it is a lie if you don't want to get the truth. Will Trump win? He may. Yeah. There's a real chance Trump can win. Absolutely. 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 Yeah. So yeah, you're right, Frank. I won't. Over on YouTube. And I agree with Solak. We should have learned from Korea and Vietnam how to fight a proxy war. You don't hold back resources. Exactly. Going in slowly is just a great way. What I wish the best for Trump if he does indeed win, I don't know what that means. I mean, would I wish that Trump would rule the country like a normal human being who isn't corrupt as hell, who doesn't suck up to America's enemies? Yes. What I wish that he, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't know what wish him well means. The man's scum. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, so what does that mean? I certainly don't want him to destroy the country. So I'm not going to say, right? I'm not going to say, oh, I hope Trump really screws up and harms us because I live here. I don't want the country harmed. Whereas you do see that among some people when Democrats win and they hope the economy goes to hell. I hope the economy doesn't go to hell under Trump. I hope it doesn't. No, but he's a horrible human being and he's a criminal. And we all know it. You all know it. As I always tell people, if you had a daughter, you wouldn't let your daughter within 100 miles of that man. You would never let that man date your daughter. And the very fact that you know that's true tells you everything you need to know about Donald Trump. Because as much as people defend Donald Trump, you know what I mean. You wouldn't let him near your daughter because you know he's a scumbag. I mean, that tells you all you need to know. You got to make it personal for people, Oh, that's horrible, Sword. Wow. Well, that's awful. Sorry about that. Jesus. Oh, man. Tornado? Where are you, Flying Medic? I know there were tornadoes like yesterday. Was it Texas or more Oklahoma? I don't know. Oh, Biden, nobody thinks Biden's a threat to girls. That's what I'm saying. We got to stop the bullshit, guys. When there are Democrats that are bad, I criticize them. But Donald Trump is a piece of human garbage, and you know it. Joe Biden is old. That's it. The worst thing you can say about Biden is he's old, and maybe you disagree with him on politics. Every other argument, it's bullshit. You know it is. All the stuff about his son and Biden, it's bullshit. They just made that, but the Republicans admitted they made it up. They literally have charged Biden with nothing because they said they can't impeach him because they have no evidence. They have nothing. All you can say about Biden that's legitimate is he's really old. That's it. Trump, we already know. I mean, that's the funny thing about talking about Trump. It's as if we don't know who Trump is. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it just cracks me up when people do this. Oh, we don't know who he is. We just don't know who he is. It's like, give me a break. Anyway. Tornado. Anyway, yeah, the tornado. Arkansas. Oh, yeah. Arkansas. Biden does support Israel. Guess who supports Israel even more? Donald Trump and RFK Jr. Like 100 times more. Oh my God, you are joking, Jordan. Jordan just said under Trump, your 401k was great. Jordan, I'm really being quite serious here. You do know that a week ago, the stock market hit its highest level ever in all of American history. Your 401k is doing so much better now under Joe Biden than it was under Donald Trump. You've got to be kidding me. I mean, but the thing is, like, this is what I don't understand about Trumpers. They literally bring up stuff like this that basically is a lie. The word was mendacious, somebody taught me years ago, where it's telling a partial truth in order to confuse people, and it's basically a lie. So saying, well, my 401k was doing great under Donald Trump, maybe it was. Guess what? It's doing even better under Joe Biden because the whole stock market is at the highest level in history. So it's total bullshit to say, oh, it was so good under Trump and not under Biden. It's actually much better under Biden. Thank you, Kanepisht from Estonia. Good to see you. Jordan, by the way, could easily be a Russian troll. Exactly. He may not have a 401k at all. But if he did have a 401k, I guarantee you his 401k is doing much better now than it was under Donald Trump. I mean, this is what I mean, where we've gotten to the point in politics where a certain political party cannot argue the truth anymore. They just can't. Okay, I hope you're real, but don't go throwing bullshit like that. Come on. Feel free to disagree on stuff, but that's just bullshit. I mean, I just don't like people making up bullshit arguments. I really don't. I mean, I knew somebody years ago who literally said to me, somebody who, by the way, couldn't give a damn about black people, and said to me she was supporting Trump's reelection because black unemployment was at an all-time low. And I almost laughed in her face. This is a Republican. And I guarantee you this Republican doesn't give a damn about African Americans. And she literally said to me that she was supporting Trump's reelection because African American unemployment was at an all-time low. And I just looked at her like, you've got to be kidding me. I mean, this is the kind of BS that comes out of people. I just don't get it. I really don't. Anyway. Exactly. My 401k was destroyed when Donald Trump let COVID go out of control. It's doing great right now. Again, highest in all of American history, the stock market right now. You had a tornado in Montreal yesterday. That's wild, Andre. Yeah, you never hear about tornadoes up there. I mean, even the northern U.S. states, the same kind of thing. Exactly, Alan. Lie travels around the world. Exactly. Exactly. Oh, what else, guys? What else? I'm anti-Trump and pro-Biden, both. I think Biden's got his flaws, and I criticize him all the time, which, by the way, you'll never hear a Trumper do. I criticize Biden all the time on this show. When's the last time you heard a Trump supporter criticize Donald Trump? Right? Never, because it's a cult. Whereas I all the time tell you how Biden screwed up Ukraine. As he has. Right? I mean, he's totally fucked up Ukraine. Even though Trump would have been worse, Trump would have handed Ukraine to Putin. But you guys can never criticize Trump. And that's the difference. And that's something that really ought to give you pause, and you ought to think about it. Why is it that Biden supporters can criticize Biden, but you can never publicly criticize Trump? That's the question. I got a lot of criticism of Biden. I don't have more than positive. I've got way more positive. But he's been too weak on Ukraine. That's about it. That's my biggest criticism of him, is too weak on Ukraine. Otherwise, the economy's doing great. People don't want to think so. That's fine. They're stupid. I mean, again, I'm not the one running for president, so I can say you're all fucking stupid for thinking the economy's not doing well when it is. But that's, whatever. But oh, you put some pictures in Discord. Okay, I'll go check it out. I don't know. We don't have a weather. What section did you put them in? General? We don't have a weather section. We almost could. I don't think we have an environment one either, do we? I don't think we do. I don't think we do. Hey, Satoshi, good to see you again. Thank you, Brian, for the gift, and Satoshi for the rose. Appreciate that. Well, I don't know what you mean, Ginger, by the way you phrased that question. Thank you, Satoshi. I like that one. Election night's tough. Previous election nights, I've not held a show because I've been busy watching the results on TV. So it's been kind of tough, Thank you, Wolford, for the tiny diny. I might, maybe I'll have Damien come over and we'll hang and put this on just to kind of hang. Biden can't do anything to fix inflation. This is the problem is presidents. There's a lot presidents cannot do with the economy, right? Is the problem. Thank you, Larissa. Thank you, Bryce, for the gifts. There's really nothing you can do to help inflation. Here's the problem. The only thing you can do to help inflation is like crash the economy. By the way, inflation's doing fine. It's doing relatively fine now. Inflation is a little above 3%. Typically, we want inflation to be 2% or lower. Usually we want around 2%. You don't want much lower, but you want 2% inflation. And we had 2% inflation for decades. COVID came, screwed everything up. After COVID, because supply problems, but also the economy came roaring back, inflation. The Federal Reserve stepped in, increased interest rates. Shockingly, the interest rates didn't crash the economy. Typically, you have to. You have to bring the economy down to get inflation down. It worked. The economy is still growing. Inflation's down. The problem is once prices go up, they don't come down, right? Like grocery prices, eggs, they were gouging us on eggs. We know that. They were totally cheating us on eggs, right? But other than that, right? I mean, they brought it down. But the other prices are up. They're never coming down. I mean, I told you, like, I used to buy, what's it called? It's not Annie's. Is Annie's the name of the frozen foods that are pretty good? She must have raised the damn prices 25% or more. I was like, I don't buy them anymore. I refuse to buy them. Yeah. So I stopped buying them. I was so pissed off. They raised those prices. I think they raised it more than 25%. I was like, I'm not touching that woman's food. I don't buy it. I don't buy it again. I haven't in years. Because a lot of them got greedy and they raised the prices too high. And again, it's like the airlines. Amy's, not Andy's, it's Amy's. That's it, user 773. That's it, Amy's. That's what I was talking about. Yep. I will not touch Amy's anymore. I love that brand. And they just decided to gouge people. And I said, screw you. No, inflation, Jordan, right now is at 3%. The problem is that prices went up and they're never coming down because that's what happens with prices. Prices never come down. That's why things are expensive. I mean, in grocery stores, things are much more expensive now. Thank you, Brian. They went up and the companies even raised them more than they had to, and they're never bringing it down. And that's what I said. This is like the airlines. The airlines pissed the hell out of me. The airlines, years ago, the very first time that the airlines decided to do their bullshit with charging us for seats and all that kind of crap, right? They claimed, first charging us for bags and seats. They claimed it was because oil prices were so high. And right, it was only because of the high oil prices. Well, oil prices came, this is guys years ago, oil prices came down. They didn't stop charging us for bags. They didn't stop charging us for seats, right? They stopped giving us blankets in the airplanes. They stopped giving us food in the airplanes. No, I think it's bullshit. I really do. Really ticks me off. Of course, they want the profit and they don't want to cut the profit, right? Federal Reserve does deal with inflation. Correct. Correct. The rate of inflation is down. That's inflation. That's what we mean when we say inflation. It's the rate of inflation. Prices went up. Prices never come down. I mean, they just don't ever. That's so my point too, by the way, Donald Trump becomes president. Prices are never coming down. It just doesn't work that way. It's inflation is the rate of increase, how much they increase each year. So flying is still relatively cheap. That's true, but they're still trying to play a lot of games with us, right? The shrinkflation is its own problem, right? Where basically they take packages and like, I think my coffee used to be 12 ounces of coffee, ground coffee, and now it's 10 ounces or 10 and a half ounces. They do cute little things like that, you know? Yeah, the interest rates cuts we're going to see because again, because inflation is still being kind of sticky at 3 point, I don't know if it's 3.3 or 3.5, whatever it was. The Federal Reserve is worried about cutting interest rates too fast because what happens? The economy starts taking off and inflation goes up. So they're holding off now. I think they're going to wait another quarter at the very least and see what inflation is in the next quarter before they lower rates again, I think. You know, I don't think they're going to raise. They may raise it if they have to. They might surprise us. You know, again, if inflation looks like it's still being a problem, they may raise a quarter of a point. You know. Andy asked, would it be possible to close the skies over Western Ukraine to stop attacks on civilians? I mean, the problem is, well, it depends, I guess. It depends. Ukraine has been arguing that rather than doing like a no-fly zone that really does take possibly killing Russians, which is not a good thing, that you could possibly use Patriot missile batteries and put, for example, Patriot missile batteries in eastern Poland and just let them extend into Ukraine. Now, they don't extend that far, so there's an issue there. I don't know whether there would be surface-to-air missiles or some other kind of weapons we'd use as well. But basically, using them to shoot down incoming Russian missiles that are, of course, unmanned. So it's not like you're going to kill Russians by knocking down their missiles. That's something the West could have done. And honestly, it's something Putin would have done. You know, thank you, Christine, for the gift. It's something Putin would have done. Putin, if she were on the other foot, Putin would have absolutely shot down our missiles that were flying into the country. Who cares? Right? I mean, because we're not shooting Russians. What's he going to do? Get angry that we're shooting down his missiles? Let him get angry. Big deal. You know? Yeah, I assumed we had other systems, Alan, that have longer range. Because I know the Patriots, I was surprised when I found out the Patriots didn't have that kind of a range. I mean, they protect a city, but they don't. You wouldn't protect like a third of the country or a quarter of the country or anything. Yeah, the nuclear threats from Russia, they're total bullshit. JJL is asking. Again, I ask you, you know, I was talking with Callum about this weekend, actually, because there was more nuclear threats from Russia. This is all these guys do. They're a one-trick pony. All Russia, and frankly, the Soviet Union liked to do this too. Oh, nuclear war. And the Russians love this crap. Nuclear war. Putin literally, I think he said it again today. And he said something, and again, he kind of gave away the argument because he said something today about how, well, you know, we both have equal strategic forces, meaning we both have pretty much equal numbers of nuclear bombs, or not numbers, but capacity to kill each other. Yeah, that's right. That's why Putin will never launch a nuclear war against us, because he's going to lose. They're going to die if they launch a nuclear war. It's just, this is now somebody should have counted the number of times the Russians have threatened nuclear war. I guarantee you it's over 100 times now. And just since the war in Ukraine started in 2 years, that the Russians have threatened nuclear war, probably over 100 times. It's all they do. It's literally the boy who cried wolf. So I just don't care anymore. I really don't. I just don't care if the Russians want to threaten nuclear war. Let them. We've got our nukes. If they do anything, we'll fire back, and the world will end, which is why Russia's not going to do it. You know, as for using nukes in Ukraine, that's when we've got to be clear with the Russians. If they want war with NATO, use nukes in Ukraine. Just tell them that, period. You know, and be very serious about it and very honest and say, we will go to war with you if you use nuclear weapons on NATO's border, period. And they won't. So, Soviet history has become very relevant to study. Yes, it's kind of funny, Julian, because I was in graduate school at Georgetown from 1985 to 1989. I got my law degree and a master's of foreign service, which is basically international public policy, Georgetown, which arguably some of us would say is the best sort of international relations program, certainly for government in the U.S. Many of us would say. The people at Hopkins would probably disagree, but still, thank you, Derek. And I spent a lot of time studying the Soviet Union because we still had the Soviet Union in 1986, 85. And then the Soviet Union disappeared in 1991. And it was kind of weird because I spent a lot of time studying the Soviet Union. It was very weird to have the Soviet Union go away because you were kind of like, I studied Russian for a year. I'd been to the Soviet Union. I took a ton of courses on the Soviet Union. I took Soviet law courses at Georgetown Law, and it was like, it went away. As Yulia likes to say, when I asked her if if Russia had become the Soviet Union again. Yulia, I think, I don't want to, this is a Ukrainian commentator, but she kind of responded and said, they never stopped being the Soviet Union, right? Thank you, Derek, as well, and Brian for the gifts, which I thought was an interesting comment that basically, and this is true, this was something I told you guys that Malcolm Nance, who's a American former U.S. military guy, has done a lot of work on Ukraine. He's gone to Ukraine several times too to help. And Malcolm once got into a fight with Glenn Greenwald, who drives me crazy. Glenn does. And Glenn was doing his typical, Glenn likes to, he's this American sort of far left liberal who's also kind of a Trumper in his own weird way. He's gone so far left that he's kind of on the right. He's really messed up. And Glenn likes to defend, Glenn literally has never seen anything that Vladimir Putin did that Glenn will criticize. He does not criticize Putin. It's very weird. It's very creepy. But I've not seen anything in like all these years that I've been following Glenn that he's criticized Putin for. It's creepy. So anyway, Malcolm once is talking about KGB, I think, and Putin and all of this. And Glenn, I saw the argument, and Glenn goes, that KGB hasn't existed for 30 years. Because like they closed, they got rid of it right after the Soviet Union dissolved. And Malcolm turns and goes, Glenn, they changed the name. He goes, what do you think? They got rid of their spies? They got rid of their spy agency when the Soviet Union went away? Are you stupid? But I loved Malcolm saying that. He was like, no, Glenn, they changed the name. Putin was a communist. Putin was a Soviet. He was a Soviet KGB colonel. He didn't stop being a KGB guy just because the Soviet Union changed its name to Russia, right? He didn't stop being a KGB guy just because the KGB changed their name, right? He's the same guy. I mean, and again, think of somebody in the CIA. If you spent 30 years in the CIA, you're not a different guy because the CIA changes its name. That's who you are, right? And the Russians, this is who they are. So, yeah, we're already at war. I mean, we're at war in the same way. Killing Time, I didn't see that, but we're in the same way saying somebody's interview said we're already at war. We're at war with Russia to the degree that we were at war with Russia during the Cold War. It's the same thing. We're at Cold War with Russia. My piece of rebar, it's locked up in the display case. I don't want to get it out because it's kind of like in there sideways with stuff next to it, so I can't get it out. Sorry. But I'm not sure what you mean, Mick, about Japan, South Korea, and China. Thank you, Christine, for that. $9 a gallon in the UK. That's always been the case in Europe, though. You guys have always charged anywhere from 2 to 4 times the price we charge for gasoline. It's always been that way. We've always been shocked when we'd go to Europe, literally 2 to 4 times the price for gasoline, or petrol, as the Brits call it. Always used to blow our minds that you guys would like put up with prices like that, but that's what it's always been. Yeah. Well, Trump plans to end the Ukraine war by basically cutting off all aid to Ukraine. Although I will say this, Trump's a bullshitter. Trump has no plan to end the Ukraine war. Trump has said repeatedly he doesn't want us funding the war. He said repeatedly that he kind of agrees with Russia, certainly on Crimea. He says Crimea is Russian. But Trump also said something that was very weird. He said that at one point, maybe was it a year ago, maybe 9 months ago, he said he would end the war by telling Putin and the Ukrainians, like, you just need to stop and agree to stop. Now, not clear what they agree to, right? But Trump said, and if the Ukrainians say no, I'm just going to cut off the weapons. And if the Russians say no, I'm going to give Ukraine 10 times more weapons than Russia's ever seen. So you were kind of like, okay, so what actually are you going to convince them to agree to, though? And he never said that. So, yeah, so who knows? Oh, I think we're absolutely in a new Cold War already, Andy. We are. The Russians are back. The Russians are back. They're less powerful than they were before. They have a smaller economy, a smaller country. They're less a threat, but because they've got nukes and a big army, they're still a pain in the ass, and they're belligerent as hell. They're, it's a dictatorship again, and they like to push around their neighbors and invade. It's just very sad. It's very sad. It is the good old days. It's very sad. Again, Russia had the chance. I mean, I've been to Russia. It's you know, Moscow and St. Petersburg are nice. The rest of the country is kind of scary backwards. I mean, it's a poor country. It's a very poor country. Um, I liked visiting, like the Russian Far East. I loved visiting out there, but it's shocking how poor it is. I mean, it's just like, whew, and you see things like that. You see how poor the Russians are, and you sit there and go, and you're spending all your time doing this Cold War bullshit rather than just developing your country. The Russians could have joined Europe. They could have joined freaking Europe and grown their economy, done what I mean, I just think it's culturally and economically, it's insane what Putin did. He just decided we have to be a military power again so people fear us rather than, I just think it was completely idiotic what he did. It was just completely idiotic. So, before Russia invaded, Ukraine was divided. Interesting. I wouldn't be surprised, I guess. VOD capitalism. I like the name. I'm not sure what it means, but I mean, I clearly see what you got the two words from, but I like the name. I'm just not sure what it means, but it's a funny name. Oh, that's interesting. Deep pressure. Their nuclear submarines can be detected pretty easily. They're not built well. That's funny. That's funny. It's not safe now, Sobo. I would never go to Russia now. If even as a Westerner, I wouldn't go to Russia. It's too dangerous to them kidnapping you. Moscow and St. Petersburg are very interesting. Yes. I do. The rest of Russia is interesting too. I mean, the Russian far. I went to Kamchatka. It was fascinating. Poor, but fascinating. Nice people, considering they elect horrible governments, but they were very nice people. And Putin may not be as smart and calculating. He may not be. Then again, he's done a very good job keeping himself in power as a dictatorship. Thank you, Running on Coffee, for the music. Well, we're definitely divided here, but that's, again, I'm sorry, it's the Republicans' fault. I mean, I hate this because, people get upset when we take sides, but Democrats have their problems. It's fringe Democrats that divide the country, right? I'm not a fan of, you guys know this, I'm not a fan of the socialist left in Congress. They're divisive, right? But the mainstream Democrats, they criticize Republicans like Republicans used to. Republicans under Trump have lost their mind, sadly. Oh, you guys on YouTube can see Sasha. She's over here kind of getting up, looking around. She's trying to she's making a bed next to the pillow. She was she's moving my little blanket on the couch, trying to dig a little seat. War does give people a common enemy, but I don't know. Because again, you've now got Trump defending our enemies. So who the hell knows? Defends Russia, kind of defends North Korea. Trump was talking about taking U.S. troops out of South Korea. He's insane. Again, he doesn't care about national security, and he frankly doesn't care about American security. That's not his shtick. He cares about hotels and stuff. That's all he cares about. His pocketbook, what he gets out of it, and who pissed him off. So who he's going to get revenge on. That's it. It's terrible. Oh, he is going to totally pardon. Of course, he's going to pardon the criminals. The other day, he's talking about pardoning this guy that had some narcotic website. Did you see that one? He's going to pardon the guy now. The guy had a website letting people buy narcotics illegally. And the guy put out 6 contracts on people to have them assassinated, to have them murdered, like, hitmen, and got life in prison. Trump, because he's trying to court, because all the crypto people like this guy, Trump now is trying to court the crypto people. So Trump says he's going to pardon the guy. It's like, oh my God. Oh my God. It's crazy. No, it wasn't Pirate Bay. It's something else. No, it was something else. Something else. I think Biden's son's kind of an idiot. What about Biden's son? His son's an idiot. But guess what? So is Don Jr. Eric is kind of a moron, but not like Don Jr. But the two of them, right? So that's what I mean. Like, you want to talk about Biden's son? I think he's a moron. Let's talk about Trump's sons going around the world and getting money from all these governments. Let's talk about Jared Kushner getting $2 billion, as Timothy just said, $2 billion from Saudi Arabia. Donald Trump's son got like a couple million from Ukraine. Joe Biden's son. Again, he's a moron. The son is, I think. But that's all you got to say. Yeah. Trump has done 1,000 times worse. So, Anyway. Well, Biden's son isn't president, correct. Here's the thing. You don't even need to talk about the children. You can just talk about the men. You got nothing on Joe Biden other than he's old. On Donald Trump, you've got never-ending corruption. And frankly, I'm sorry, but you know what? And I'm old-fashioned this way. The guy slept with a freaking porn star right after his wife, Melania, gave birth to their son, Barron. Your wife just gave birth, and you went and you stooped a porn star in a hotel at a conference. That's disgusting. I really do. And frankly, not just you cheated on your wife, not just you cheated on the wife after right when your kid was born, but you did it with a freaking porn star. I'm sorry. As I said, I'm kind of conservative this way. I think that's disgusting. I had a well, whatever. Not a porn star, but I think it's kind of gross, frankly. And it's something that Republicans would have found disgusting. Donald Trump does it. Now you're okay with adultery with porn stars when your wife's giving kids. You're fine with that. That's sickening. I just think, again, I criticize Biden for stuff Biden's done, but you people don't even care about the stuff Trump did. It's disgusting. And again, his embrace of Russia, disgusting. You don't care. You don't care about the crap Trump said about the U.S. military. You don't care. I just find it disgusting. I really do. It's a cult thing. It's sad, but it's a cult thing. I mean, ugh. Yeah, it's not even the point. I think Stormy's attractive enough, but what do I know? Anyway. All right, guys, we're at the hour and a half mark. You know what? I will do a quick summary of the news since I haven't done that in a while, and then let's call it quits. I've got to throw some food in the oven, probably for tomorrow, but it's some fish that I have not been making, and I've got to make the fish so it doesn't go bad. So let me give you the quick summary of the news. Reuters, Czech artillery update. The delivery of tens of thousands of 155 millimeter artillery shells to Ukraine will begin in a few days, according to the Czech government. Also on Tuesday, the Netherlands said it would deliver parts of a Patriot missile air defense system to Ukraine and is talking to other countries in order to assemble a complete system for Ukraine. President Macron of France has clarified that Ukraine should have the right to strike military targets inside Russia that are used to fire on Ukraine, but not other Russian military facilities. Reportedly, the German chancellor agreed with him. I don't know that that's true. I'd like to see more, but who knows? I just like to see more from the Germans on that first, but they're claiming the Germans felt the same way. The Polish foreign minister says that the Poles are ready to send troops to Ukraine. Not that they're doing it, but they're ready to do it if necessary, which was interesting. The French clarified that they're not necessarily sending military advisors to Ukraine. The Ukrainian government this weekend said the French are, and the French said, well, we're talking about it, but we haven't decided yet. Sweden is pausing plans to send Gripen fighter jets to Ukraine in order to allow for the introduction of F-16 fighter jets after NATO allies urged them not to send the planes to Ukraine. Sounds to me like it was Biden. Zelenskyy called on Biden to attend the Swiss Peace Summit taking place in July. Biden has a campaign fundraiser he's going to instead in the States. And finally, the government of Georgia, the country, the parliament overruled the president's veto of a foreign agents law, which is basically a draconian law put into place to try to squelch pro-democracy groups. It is the exact same law that Putin created in Russia. And now the Georgian government, that is sadly a little too close to Russia, is trying to pull a Putin on democracy in Georgia, which is very bad. So, all right, guys. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Kronos, for the last minute gift. Thank you, person with a Hebrew name that I could never read in a million years, for the rose. I appreciate that. Thank you, Deep Press. Super Hornet. I appreciate everything, guys. I'm going to sign off. See you guys tomorrow, 6 o'clock Eastern Time, US, as always. Thank you, Alan, for the Furious Fire. And yeah, see you guys tomorrow night, and we'll be back again. Thank you, Timothy. I love all the last minute gifts. Appreciate it, guys. All right, I'm going to sign off YouTube first, since TikTok always takes a minute to catch up. YouTubers, thank you very much. All right, TikTokers,